Yeah. And so a friend of mine had posted a Facebook status back when people actually posted Facebook statuses saying, we need more women on stages in Cronulla. And I sent him a message and I was like, no fucking shit. Like, pardon my French. I had been trying to start a band, and of the girls that I do know that play instruments, they're way too terrified, which I totally understood. And it was very vulnerable to get up there in a space that was so heavily dominated by the boys, which was how the name came about. So I ended up going on this kind of blind date with these two girls that I had never met before, who were cousins of a friend. And I rocked up to their house with my guitar, and I was like, "Hey, do you want to play these songs that I wrote?" And we played our first gig within 2 weeks after that. Like, I can accept that now, that that's just how I function. But back in the day, before I knew I was autistic, it was more about, well, why can't I be like everyone else? They seem to be able to do it. Why can't I? I'm not trying hard enough. I'm not good enough. Or I was always very sensitive. Zoe's too sensitive. She gets overwhelmed very easily. And just to know that that is just because that's how my neuronal pathways are set up it's been really great to not be so mean to myself. You can have like a real harsh inner critic, inner bully, that I've really gladly just skeeted out the door.
Or the national broadband network, but now the regional news network has actually closed down and been bought. Now it's just an unambiguous, we just hate the NBN, and it's kind of taken the fun out of it. But I feel like we have to kind of revive that beef after what's just happened.
Get your act together, NBN.
Yeah. Come on, NBN.
Yeah, thank you. We have a cosign. Yeah, give a cosign for the first time. But we were just saying how good your merch was, effectively. Go to shop.theboys.com or whatever the website is to get your merch from the boys. But yeah, Zoe, thank you so much for joining us. I suppose this is take 2 of trying to get this thing started. We do appreciate it. And we've got you, we're chatting a bit ahead of time, but when this one will be released, it's around about the time of a brand new single. So it's exciting times for the boys.
So exciting. Oh, we've been waiting to get the cogs turning again for a while, because we've come out of like a little bit of a quiet patch. So we're so excited just to come out the gates running.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about this single. It's called "Kill You Back." It's such a good sound. It is unreal. Absolutely love it. And yeah, as you said, it's your first release in a little while. You dropped your. I was surprised. I mean, yeah, to realize it was your first debut album, Luster, which dropped in 2024. Obviously, you'd been releasing a lot, since formation back in 2016. But tell us a little bit about this single and what it represents after a bit of time away from releasing.
So this song is called Kill You Back. I wrote it with a friend of mine, Alistair Hayes, who I also wrote Bitch with. And I wanted to try something different that I hadn't done in songwriting before. Like, usually when I'm writing about my experiences, I will be very literal and matter of fact, and in reality, where I've kind of put a real life experience through a story lens. And in this, I am meeting my partner at the park, and I realize that I'm actually being murdered, and I become a ghost and I follow them around. And then, as a ghost, I watch them tell all of our friends that they didn't kill me, it wasn't them, they have an alibi. And it's actually just a metaphor for being dumped. When someone breaks up with you and then tells other people, oh no, like, I wasn't the dumper, I was the dumpy. And I just thought it was really fun to play with that like horror element of it. It's super fun, but also ironic, because the reason we have had time off is I recently nearly, had a kind of near-death experience just after we played a show in Tassie over New Year's. And it's ironic that, after, getting so close to something that was very scary, we're now releasing a single called Kill You Back. It's like, there's something in that.
Shit. That's a bombshell. If you're comfortable to talk about that or willing, would you like to?
Yeah, well, so because it's so common. So with autistic people to have comorbidities and several chronic illnesses and such, and a part of that is I get anemic very easily and usually get iron infusions. And I've had iron infusions in the past and it's always been fine, but this time it was not fine. It leached all the phosphate from my body, and your muscles need phosphate to contract. So everything kind of got out of whack for a while. And I'm just very lucky to be able to keep trucking on.
So you said near death. Like, were you rushed to hospital? I assume. Like, what was this during a gig, post gig? Like, what was?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we had the gig in Tassie, and I just felt like you get familiar with your body, especially when you're chronically ill. You're like, is this just like, am I having a bad day or is this something different? And I went to hospital as soon as we landed in Sydney, and they ran a bunch of tests, but they didn't test the one thing that would have caught what was happening. So the blood test came back normal, and they were like, "You're fine, you can go home." And then my organs started having some issues, so my bowels shut down, and that's when I was rushed back. And so I spent about a week in hospital. It wasn't the funnest, but I wrote some music while I was in there. Like there's always silver linings, and yeah, just learning how to like take it easy after that and not exert myself so that I can get back to touring is really exciting. Like I'm doing a bunch of shows with Ben Lee around the time this single comes out at the end of May, and they're solo sets. So I'm like, I can sit on a stool. I don't have to push myself too hard, you know?
Wow, that's insane. We are very glad that ended. It's not a positive experience, but it didn't end horribly for you, which is good. And I suppose it's a good PSA for anyone out there who might also need to receive iron infusions to watch out for a particular set of symptoms.
Yeah, tiredness and muscle heaviness, shortness of breath. Go get your phosphate checked.
Yeah, I suppose a lot of that would be, as you said, like on the road touring. You're sleeping in hotels. You're in the van on the road. Like you're not getting as much sleep as you should be. You're probably already tired, and having
Fully.
similar sort of feelings. So, like you said, like your body, you got to understand: is this just side effects of doing what we do, or is there something more serious at play?
Especially when you talk to, like, when I would chat to the band about, how tired, oh, so I'm so tired, this, da, da, da. And everyone's tired because touring is so grueling. So when you have those conversations, you think, oh, okay, well, it's just normal. But then you
Mm.
kind of start to realize that, like, actually, it shouldn't be this difficult.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow. Well, glad that it's kind of ended positively for you, and that you're back into it. If we can take it back to "Kill You Back," this new single, was that written pre or post near death experience?
Pre that, and
Pre.
like, and the release like was already scheduled to go. So it's so ironic that all of that happened, and now we're releasing this song called "Kill You Back."
And have you found yourself kind of wanting to go, like, with this experience now under your belt, wanting to go and tweak the song or add little any kind of references to it? Or are you happy for those two things to kind of exist separate, but you have a connection between the two?
Yeah, I think the latter. I just think it'll be like a funny story that I tell to make light of what was a pretty scary time.
And in terms of the subject matter for that song itself, that was based off personal experience. And we know your music, as you said, is quite literal, and that's been such a strength, I think, of your music, since I first heard you many years ago. How did it feel stepping into a different mode of songwriting and something that might have felt a bit less familiar and a bit less, assured when it compares to how you'd been releasing music in the past?
It was really exciting because, like growing up, I was always, head in the clouds, head in the fantasies kind of kid. And so it just really felt like stepping into like my childlike self and allowing myself to be theatrical and put a bit of, put a bit of that drama kid into it. I had so much fun with it. And Alistair is very much that way too. So we both just brains fused like, and then it all happened.
Was that something like a direction you were wanting to head towards for a while? Or was it more just when you sat down with Alistair, it sort of felt like this was the right way to approach this song?
Yeah, I think it ended up just coming out because of what we were kind of doing with the guitar. Like it just had this really dramatic feeling to it. And I was like, you know what? I just think adding this storytelling lens to it and this like horror genre element is going to pay homage to what we're doing with the instruments and like be more purposeful and meaningful than it would be if I was just writing in the way that I normally do. Plus, it's always just really fun to try something new because now now I know I can do that. And so I can, yeah, I found a new thing that I love. So
Yeah, because there's obviously it's a different approach to the obviously you still, whether it's more literal or more set in fantasy, it's still you're still writing a story. It's just a matter of, I suppose, how many metaphors you're throwing in, or the different directions you can take a story when you're not trying to be as literal. Did you find that liberating or freeing in a way?
yeah, I mean, I even when I am writing literally, I do find that I like to write in such a way that allows me to process what I'm thinking and feeling, but at the same time leaves the door open for other people to do that as well. So while I will be quite specific with the way that I thought or felt, I do keep nuance in there so that people can apply their own meaning to it because, you know, 100,000 people can listen to the same song and get something completely different from it. And that's got to be one of my most favorite things about songwriting. So I think it was freeing in the sense that I was doing the same thing in a different way and knowing that like I can apply that same way of thinking to different modes of songwriting.
Yeah, and how did it go with you actually processing that experience personally? Because at face value, it sounds like not a fun experience at all. The subject matter of the song. How did reimagining that situation, that scenario in a different realm, help you with your own processing of it?
It it literally helped me get that anger out and that grief out of, you know, something that pulls the rug out from under you, you know, the stages of grief, right? I think I was in the anger part and I've had this happen so many times through my life and I just love it. It's the second I write the song, it's like that anger is just gone. Um, yeah, it stops you from holding on to stuff that would otherwise just burden you if you just kept holding a grudge and being, little cranky pants. I think I'd much rather go out and smile and be happy.
And sonically, the track itself as well, you mentioned it, it's got this drama to it, which I picked up on straight away, and a bit of grunginess to it as well. I mean, which isn't super far removed from what you guys have done in the grungy side, but I think the sound on the whole, when you combine those two factors, it's definitely, it feels like a step in a new direction for you guys, and it sounds absolutely unreal. So how is the whole band receiving that, and is that kind of foreshadowing perhaps where you're going to go with that sound moving forward?
So we had so much fun working on the next couple of songs that you guys are going to hear. And for us, it was like, I don't know, I think we've just been playing together with each other for so long and we know each other so well that when you're in the room, things just like can sometimes even happen without words. It's almost like you're talking telepathically. And so I think something that a lot of people will hopefully notice when they hear the next music from the boys is that we've really stuck to our guns in our love of exploring multiple genres. We don't we've never quite liked it when people have said, you need to just do one thing, stick with grunge or stick with punk or stick with pop. And we've gone, nah, fuck that. We're going to do it all.
Yeah, as is your right, and as is, I think, fans of you would also appreciate that as well. Because as Eamon said, it's not like it's a complete 180. It's not completely removed from what you'd been doing. You're just sort of adding different elements, and sort of, as you touched on, the way that you've gone about writing this new track is also, again, a little, something else in your arsenal that you can sort of pull out, moving forward. Do you think that way of writing we'll see more of, like more of this storytelling metaphor style of songwriting? Is that something you're planning to continue?
um, Not necessarily a plan, but I I do think that once I've tried something and I like it, I do tend to go back to it. And I've been I've been writing a lot of songs lately that are very musical theatre. So I like to take that drama and inject it into stuff that I'm doing on the Boys project. Um, but yeah, I'm not a planner when it comes to songwriting. I'm a big planner in most everything else, but when it comes to writing, it's like there's no other word. Like it's quite spiritual in a way. Like you're almost not even there. I've always felt like you're just receiving from your whole life experiences, from people you talk to, and it goes through you, and then you voice it in a way that makes sense to you, if that makes any sense at all. I like to just really go with the flow, and if something isn't really working, then I'll just like let it rest. I will never push something. I have in the past, and I don't love it. I think I just love flying through and just chasing a feeling, really. Yeah.
Yeah, and this is the beauty of songwriting too. Like we've spoken to numerous artists over the years, and everyone has a different process. Some people prefer to sit down and say, "Okay, I've allowed myself 2 hours this morning to try and write some songs or get some ideas on a page." Other people are more your approach, and it's when ideas come to me and I'm feeling inspired and the flow's there. That's when my best work comes. You've tried, multiple ways, and you found a way that works best for you. But I also want to stress you're not just feeling good and then you sort of mentioned spiritual and things coming to you, but there's also a skill in that to identify that these are the feelings I'm feeling, let me put that on a page, or let me sort of try and express this, and out the end of it is a really good song. Like that does take time and effort, and it is a skill in itself.
Yeah, I would probably say I have my pattern recognition to thank, because I consume so much music, and so when I'm writing, because I have consumed so much art and music, my brain will go, okay, I've managed to kind of go over the 50 different ways that this could go, and my gut is telling me that this is what's going to make this song great. And it's always about that song, like it's about what serves that song. If that song isn't meant to have catchy hooks, then it's not going to have catchy hooks. There's going to be something else that makes that song what it is. And so it's like song by song, you just like feed it like a little creature.
And you did a little, for those watching this on YouTube would have seen it, but you did a little more music eyebrow raise before. Is that as much as you can give away in terms of what might be to come beyond this single that we're discussing now? Just that watch this space.
Watch this space. Get ready for lots of boys' music.
Can I ask, the TV show The Boys, have you seen it?
The superhero one?
Yeah.
I love it.
Okay, because as I said, you're wearing the Boys merch, and it sort of occurred to me, I was like, oh, hang on, that's right. There is also a TV series called The Boys, which as of time of recording, there's, new seasons recently come out. So it's like...
Is there a new season out?
Yeah, I haven't seen it yet either. They're annoyingly releasing one episode at a time every week. Like, just let me binge it. But anyway.
Yeah, let me binge.
No, appointment TV's back. Bring it back.
Yeah, I want to binge and bed rot. Because I was really late to the party with The Boys. I only saw that halfway through last year, maybe the start of the year. And I just fell in love. Oh gosh, like just I was having my moment of like, I get it. It's about the arms race. It's about proxy wars. It's like, this is how the people at the top make money off war, and this is what it's all about. I loved it.
Yeah, timely at the moment as well. But you guys should, reach out. Oh, no, I think it's the final season that's already dropped, but I feel like it's a missed opportunity to have music by The Boys on the TV show The Boys.
I'm pretty sure I ended up DMing their Instagram account. Or I was intending to, because right? What an opportunity lost.
Yeah.
Play The Boys on The Boys.
Yeah, absolutely. Hashtag play The Boys on The Boys.
Kill You Back would sound great in it, actually.
It would.
All right,
we'll get the campaign going. We are actually, according to a post that Cam made on our Instagram the other day, we're the most listened to podcast in the world. So that's surely going to help when the many millions of people that listen to this hear that suggestion. So watch your space.
Completely legitimate.
Not edited.
There was certainly no editing. You don't even need to pixel peep to find out where the edits were made.
Zoe, if we can chat about The Boys as a group as well, because I mentioned it before, you've been around since 2016, slightly different formation at that point, but this band has been going for 10 years now. You had your debut album drop in 2024, but you mentioned it yourself. You've got such a strong connection with your fellow bandmates now. So I'm just keen for people who might be listening that might not be as familiar with you, give us a bit of a quick history of The Boys, how you started, kind of what the genesis of the band was, and then I'd love to hear about how how well that chemistry has evolved, because you alluded to it before, but it sounds and looks like it's evolved really, really beautifully.
Yeah. So the boys, well, okay. So have you ever watched Puberty Blues?
The recreation one
Yeah, the
that was
recreated
like,
TV series. Because so I grew up in the Shire, and the way that I would explain it to people is that, it's much like Puberty Blues, which is based in the 70s, and actually not a lot has changed. Like I have memories of like sitting at this house where there was a full band set up, and the boys would be playing, and the girls would be sitting on the side, and we'd just be like, oh, can I have a turn? Can I have a go? And you never got to touch an instrument. And I became really excited about starting a band. Had been doing music my whole life, and was just about to graduate uni. And so a big thing for me was I wanted to wait until I got my good marks, like a good girl or a good boy. And then I'd start my band. And so a bunch of friends, over the years had needed band members, and I put my name forward and never really got a bite. And then there was a group looking for a keyboard player, and I was like, this is my shot. I'm really good at keys. And they gave the spot to this guy who had never touched a piano in his life. And I was like, okay, I think I'm starting to sense a pattern here. They don't want me in their band because I'm a girl. Like I can't infiltrate this boys club.
Can I,
Um,
sorry, just to quickly interject, what year are we talking, like, to give us a time frame?
like between 2015 and 2016.
Yeah, okay. So not too
Yeah,
long before the band was formed, but yeah, around that
yeah,
time frame. So
yeah,
certainly, 10 years ago, but certainly, modern enough to where you'd think that this shouldn't have been an issue.
yeah, yeah. And so a friend of mine had posted a Facebook status back when people actually posted Facebook statuses saying, we need more women on stages in Cronulla. And I sent him a message and I was like, no fucking shit. Like, pardon my French. I had been trying to start a band, and of the girls that I do know that play instruments, they're way too terrified, which I totally understood because, um, at the time, the only woman playing around the Shire was Ruby Fields. Back then, she was known as stay-at-home mum. And it was very vulnerable to get up there in a space that was so heavily dominated by the boys, which was how the name came about. So I ended up going on this kind of blind date with these two girls that I had never met before, who were cousins of a friend. And I rocked up to their house with my guitar, and I was like, hey, do you want to play these songs that I wrote? And we played our first gig within 2 weeks after that. But
Wow.
like much like a lot of bands, there's a lot of movement of people in and out as people get older and get jobs and settle down and all that kind of stuff. So this iteration of the boys with Hillary and Tess and Courtney, we've been playing together now for like 7 years. So it's solid. And you just get this kind of synergy when you play with each other where you can, like, anything could happen on stage and you just work it out. Like, yeah, I love it. It's
It's
like this natural
fantastic.
synergy.
Hi, it's us. Sorry to interrupt us, but we're here with an important message from our sponsor, Sonora Studios.
Yes, go to Sonora Studios, and we will expand upon that message. Jack was really brief in what he sent us.
It was just all caps, go to Sonora.
Well, take that advice if you want, but if you are a musician or a music producer and you're looking for a space to record your work or record the work of others or work out of, we would like to highly recommend Sonora Studios in Tuggerah for you to do that. It's a fantastic space curated by Jack Negro, very welcoming, unreal place to record out of, at least for podcasts, but we know based on all the musicians we spoke to that it's fantastic for music as well. It's got everything, a very well designed, well thought out place with some of literally the best producers in the country and some of the best bands in the country frequenting it. So do check out Sonora Studios if that is what you're looking for. It's so cool to hear that story. I remember, so Cam and I used to do a radio show on community radio on the Central Coast. And it would have been, I just remember when like you guys first popped up on our radar and we would have played you, and it was around, I want to say around 2018-ish, maybe earlier. I can't remember when we started at Cam. It's been a while. We're nearly 10 years. So it would have been about 2018.
Yeah, we started November 2017, so probably somewhere in
Nice.
2018, I'd say.
Yeah, and I just remember we had that nugget of context there. You know, the name is not an accident, and it's in response to something. And obviously, you're an all-female band, which is fantastic. And I remember us kind of touching on that. And from then on, obviously, we've always known about you, but it's really cool to hear that story, and how that came out and how well that has blossomed since. What have you observed in the industry? Because obviously you were coming through in that time and you had those experiences in your area. And I have like half my family are from the Shire, and from what I know of it, I can corroborate what you're saying of the Shire.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's moving in the right direction. And that's no shade to my family. They're all fantastic people. Let that be known. But yeah, what have you observed in the industry, like as you've moved through it? Because you came through in a very particular context, and that same context is what kind of birthed the band in the first place. So have you seen movement? Like we've covered this for years, the music news side of things, and there's been, a lot of movement, but obviously we're still not where I think no one says we're where we need to be. So have you seen us moving in the right direction in the time that you've been in the industry?
It's hard to say, like moving in the right direction, yes. At the right pace, I don't think so. Um, it's so tough because I mean I've been lucky enough to kind of see some different sides because so some of the girls in the band, for example, they grew up around the inner west. So when I tell them stories about what it was like playing in Cronulla or even what it was trying to be like trying to start the band, like they can't conceptualize what it would be like for a woman or girl to be excluded from a group just because of their gender or sex. Whereas you speak to anyone in the Shire about that and it's commonplace. And that's just my own lived experience. But like, if you just leave the metropolitan area, that's happening to girls and women in the suburbs, in the country, in different countries. So yeah, while I think we are moving in the right direction, I think it could pick up a bit more pace. We're still seeing, bands who maybe don't deserve the platform because they are, exhibiting ill behavior. And then if you just look over here, you can see all of these incredible artists in Australia who aren't really getting the love and attention that they deserve. Like a big one, for example, is Australia's kind of issue with, I guess, pop music, which of course is so heavily dominated by women and girls. Um, I mean, I have to because it's a pop culture reference and it is so relevant. But that band that did the Usher cover
Oh,
and
the
called
Triple
it an
J.
ugly swan or something. Yeah,
Yeah, the like a
it
version. I
just
can't remember the band
yeah,
name, but I know what the incident you're talking about.
it just felt like that was a really good example to show what some people think about pop music. And when you peel back the layers at the end of the day, when pop music is dominated by women, it's hard not to say, all right, maybe you should question why you don't love pop because there's a reason why so many people love it. It's catchy as hell and the art that goes into it is incredible and it doesn't mean anything less just because they're not playing in a band with dudes and guitars.
Yeah, I have similar thoughts in a way around Taylor Swift. Like incredible musician, talented songwriter, like everything that she's built is pretty much off her own back. Like she does so much work herself. She has a great team around her, no doubt. But like you can follow her career and it's like, hey, this is like just someone who had a talent and a passion and has taken the right steps and is there on her own, selling out massive concerts, stadium tours worldwide. The Eras tour was massive. But the amount of flack that she cops, and I think it is because she's a female musician. If that was a male who dominated and sold out stadiums around the world and went on this massive thing and was, donating so much of their money to the truckies and the crew, giving out massive bonuses and was appearing at an NFL game because their partner was, like for unrelated reasons, they're at a different sporting event, they wouldn't cop the backlash. Like I think a lot of it does come down to, as you were sort of saying there, it's because Taylor Swift is a female that for some people, for whatever reason, they just want to dislike her.
Yeah, and it's such a shame because, gosh, the things that people are missing out on, and all they have to do is just stop for 1 second and just question where their frame of mind comes from, because it is socially conditioned. It is how we're raised. It's unfortunate, but like that's why like locker room talk is bad, because it validates poor behavior. That's why it's just a joke in a movie reinforces stereotypes, like all of those things. We watch movies and TV shows that reinforce these ideas that just, yeah, make it so easy for people to want to tear down a woman who is in a position of power, which is like kind of where I was going with Bitch, the single that we released last year, because I just see it all the time with myself, but like just with women all around the globe, and it's just like exhausting, and just sad, because like all of this, it just feels like a distraction. And if we just learnt to stop being enemies of each other, we would have so much more free time to run around and frolic.
Yeah, and also worry about things that are actually making everybody's life harder, which definitely isn't someone who's just different to you,
Exactly.
in any way. And that track "Bitch" that you released last year, that was absolutely revolving around this idea and this response, and it was a powerful and full of attitude track, as it should have been. That was, I was looking at your Instagram before, and you kind of framed it as it's a term used, often at a woman who's occupying space and trying to, be heard. So tell us a little bit about that track and kind of why that was important to release in that time.
I feel like we as a band have just, I mean, we'll never stop writing about it. Like our first EP was called "All This Talking Gets Us Nowhere," and it kind of speaks to what we were talking about before. How like we're heading in the right direction, we're having the right conversations, but like let's do better. And it just feels really good to scream that and know that other women are going to hear it, and it's going to give them some relief to scream it too, and to do that live and see people have that experience that we thought might happen. Like you write a song and you just really hope that this does something for someone. And then when you see that with your own eyes, it just feels so good. And with the way that the music industry is right now, but even just societally for young girls and women, it just felt like we need songs like that for young girls and for women. So it made sense that that was going to be our first single after Luster, just to be like, hey, yo, we don't care about taking up space. We're just going to take up some more.
Take up some more, absolutely. And this isn't, as we've sort of touched on throughout your journey as well, it's not a new thing, it's not a unique thing either. We spoke to Teen Jesus and the Gene Teasers maybe 5 years ago on the radio show, and obviously they have the track, with the lyric, you're pretty good for a girl band, and that sort of stuff, which is just like, you'd never say that to an all-male band. Like, it's
Literally.
yeah,
We had a
like
gig
you
review once where we were just getting to this stage where people were writing gig reviews, and we just thought that was so cool and so exciting. And so we're reading this review and it said, and they could actually play their instruments.
Fuck.
And we're like, come on. So many other things you could have talked on. Like, yeah, so it's shitty and it happens. And that's why it feels so good to release songs like that, just to show other girls and women who are experiencing the same thing every day at work, in their own families, for them to know that, you know, it's unfortunately universal, and hopefully the more we talk about it, the less it happens.
Yeah, and absolutely having role models like yourselves and showing, what can be and what should be, is hopefully inspiring a whole new generation. And with songs like that as well, it's no doubt having an impact. So, we hope that we continue to move in that right direction, but at a faster pace. That would be great. You made reference to it before, when we were talking about your near-death experience, the comorbidities that come with an autism diagnosis. And our good friend Angus Hamill, who does a fantastic show on Coast FM, Raw Youth Disability Radio, and also is behind the board at Triple J. And he was speaking to you some weeks ago about this exact diagnosis. This is relatively recent for you, as we understand it. So, as much as you're willing to or keen to discuss, would you want to dive into that and tell us a little bit about how that came about and the impact it's had on you, maybe both as a musician and personally?
Yeah, for sure. So I was diagnosed 3 or 4 years ago now. Um, and I mean, like so many, like so many autistic people have a really similar story, and it's that growing up, I just always knew I was different. I didn't really fit in very well at school. I had a really hard time understanding social rules. So, a great example is I would assume that someone would want to hear the honest truth. But I had to learn in high school that actually people prefer when you lie, which, newsflash, not really compatible with a lot of autistic people. So got myself in hot water a lot growing up, just really struggling to understand how other people's brains worked, and just all I wanted was just to fit in. Um, and yeah, high school was tough. I was bullied pretty bad. And so I ended up changing schools in year nine and went to a new school that was just incredible for me. Really supportive teachers, incredible principal, all teachers in principal who I'm like, still in touch with. Um, I was catching the train home the other night and met a bunch of kids on the train who helped me not miss my train spot. And turns out they were from the same school. We were talking about how great our music teachers were. Like, that was a real safe haven for me. And for the first time in my life, I felt like I had friends, which was really cool. But I still would get to a point where, I would say or do the wrong thing and not be able to understand what went wrong. And it wasn't until I had a close family member of mine get diagnosed with autism that the cogs started turning for me. Um, just because I was really able to anticipate his needs. Like, I understood him. And so many people in the family would be like, "Oh, Zoe did that. No, that's like Zoe. Oh, you two are similar." And then I was like, "Oh, there's something to this." And that was right around the time lockdown happened. And so even though I was a frontline healthcare worker, which was a lot, um, we were only dealing with emergency patients. So all of the routine clinics shut down. So at certain points, before we knew what we were doing with COVID, there was a weird quiet period where no one knew what to do. So we had like quite a bit of spare time, and that's when the research started. And I was just reading and reading and reading from other women and girls' experiences and going, oh my gosh, like, everything makes sense. I finally could have a grasp on why I didn't fit in, why I innately cannot accept and enforce social hierarchy. I don't understand it. I don't like it. That's just not how I function. And I used to, like, I can accept that now, that that's just how I function. But back in the day, before I knew I was autistic, it was more about, well, why can't I be like everyone else? They seem to be able to do it. Why can't I? I'm not trying hard enough. I'm not good enough. Or I was always very sensitive. Zoe's too sensitive. She gets overwhelmed very easily. And just to know that that is just because that's how my neuronal pathways are set up it's been really great to not be so mean to myself. You can have like a real harsh inner critic, inner bully that I've really gladly just skeeted out the door. Um, Not without it sometimes knocking back and wanting to be like, hey, I want to go do some old haunts and put that mask back on. Um, but I don't know, the older I'm getting, the more I get excited about just being myself. And if people find that weird, then I just don't really care. And sometimes it gets to me, but honestly, most of the time, I'm just so stoked to not be expending so much energy hiding who I am. Um, I just, yeah, time to be myself.
That's awesome. And, all power to you. I'm so glad that you've gone through, obviously, because, growing up, like, everyone, like, your lived experience is just what you assume everyone else is going through, right? Doesn't matter what
Totally.
your experience is, whether you're at home and, my parents are still together, but like to me, having two parents who are loving and married is a normal experience. And then you find a friend whose parents are divorced, and you're like, whoa, hang on. Like your whole views on things change over time as you learn more, and your lived experiences change. So you growing up, you would have had a similar thing, like, well, what I'm going through, like I assume that's what everyone's going through. And then when people start telling you, no, that's not what I'm feeling,
Yeah.
and you feel like the odd one out, it's like, well, why? And you've, finally, gotten to that, gone through that journey, and you've now come out the other side of it. And, people have issue with it. I feel like that's more on them now. Like,
Yeah.
similar to what we're talking about, many other issues in the world, but a lot of it does come down to my own experience and, I guess what I'm tolerable of, if that's a good term to use in that. But, it's, or exposure, I suppose, is a better way. Like if you haven't
There's
been
also a window
exposed,
of tolerance. Yeah.
yeah, like if I'm not, exposed to someone of a certain race or ethnicity or someone with autism, I've never had that experience. It might be harder to deal with. But if I'm not open to learning more, then that's where I think a lot of difficulties or challenges, and it's a bit of that's where the problems arise.
100%. And it even, like, if I can bring back to the cronulla of it all, you just hit the nail on the head there, because if people just took the second just to even do a little bit of research to understand someone else's experience, then things could be so different. But the world is designed to keep us busy, and that sucks. I This whole health crisis that I've been dealing with the last couple of months has kind of just made me sad for my friends who are so burnt out and can't stop because they've got to pay rent, or they can't afford basic necessities. And I just I was forced to stop, and I'm like, I don't wish ill on any of my friends, but I wish they had the ability just to stop and slow down. I wish everyone had the ability to just stop and slow down and just like listen to people, connect.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's definitely we're in a position right now where there is no time to do any of that, and it's not helping us in any way. But what you've just spoken about also reinforces why visibility is so important, and why having people in front of everybody in a society from all parts of that society are important for people understanding it, because it's bullying in high school happens, of course, horrible. But I'm sure had some of those kids understood other people a bit better, your experience might have been a bit easier, and then moving forward through your
Well,
life.
that's why. So you brought up Taylor Swift before, and I'm shocked at my self-control to have not been immediately info dumping on you, because Taylor Swift is my special interest. But that's what got me into her, because she spoke about things that were happening to me in high school and at around the same age. Like when she released 15, I was 14. I was getting so excited for my 15th birthday, and she was writing about it, and she was talking on stage about how girls would be mean to her at school. And I just thought, oh my gosh, I can relate. And yeah, I think the visibility of all that kind of stuff is so important for that reason.
Yeah, Taylor Swift
Yeah.
is a special interest of my wife, and I've, through being with my wife now for 6-7 years now, I have over that time, gradually, she slowly drip fed me, we should go, oh, let's put on one of her, I think it was a Reputation concert or something, and I was like, oh, if we have to, while we're wrapping Christmas presents, and then I'm just sitting there watching it the whole time and not actually wrapping presents, and
Makes
slowly
me
over
like you.
time. Yeah, slowly over time became more and more a fan. But it is that, even to connect it to the songwriting element, like Folklore, Evermore sort of became more story, character, out of this world type stories, as opposed to lived experiences, which is what was, her bread and butter for so
Yeah,
long. Was that an inspiration for you at all as well?
definitely. Like, yeah, definitely. Gosh, because those songs came out like during lockdown, and
Mm.
I remember, so Evermore came out on the anniversary of my dad's passing, and there's a song on there uh, where she sings about her grandma who passed away, and she's singing like, and I can hear you singing to me now. And my dad was a singer, and I just the fact that that came out on my dad's anniversary, I just lost it. But I got really lost in those albums. It's really like I would come home from work from the hospital just so drained and so stressed about catching COVID myself because I'm immunocompromised, and it was a hectic time. And I would just put my headphones on and I would sit under this like tin roof out the back of my house. It was really rainy that COVID, and I would just, there'd be a kettle next to the door, and I would just drink tea until the sun went down, and even just sit there in the dark, just listening to the album on repeat.
And this is a power of music as well,
Yeah.
right? Not only to have that, emotional response from you, or from that experience with your dad, which I'm sorry to hear about. Also, when you're 15, right, you're excited for your 15th birthday party. You're listening to a song that's relatable, or the way that music can help you sort of wind down from being a hectic frontline worker in the most hectic of times for frontline workers. This is the power of music. This is why we love it, and this is why we, just the way we can connect to it. Are you still in sort of that field, like frontline health worker?
Not anymore. I finished up some of my science work at the end of last year, and then with this health stuff, I just thought, oh, I mean, I can't imagine working a second job. It's probably what got me here in the first place, being so burnt out from doing so much work. So until I'm better, I'll just be focusing on music, which it's kind of exciting. I've never really considered it before, and I've kind of been like, I don't really have the option of doing a science job for now because I really do need to rest. And the what that has led to is just because the stuff that we've, got coming, I was able to just fully immerse myself in it. And like the one thing that the band and I spoke about, all of us girls were like, we really want this album to feel like a world, like it's its own universe. We want people to be able to visit, like and leave, and visit and leave, and it's its own space. And so because I was just fully immersed in it, it really feels like that, and it's so exciting. I really can't wait for everyone to hear everything that's coming.
Big win.
Again, that's a nod to the video watchers. I'll just let you watch that. But we know we can say no more. But there's things on the way. Watch this space. Things are happening. Zoe, it's been unreal to talk and to get an understanding of you as an artist in the band, and also to kind of foreshadow as best we can what is coming. Can you speak to any live performances, or am I just asking for too much here? That some of our listeners might be able to get themselves to, in and around this new single release.
So around the time that this new single is coming out, I'll be doing a bunch of solo sets, opening up for Ben Lee.
That's cool.
Oh, losing my marbles. I played a show with Sly Withers for their acoustic tour for their album launch, and Ben just happened to be in the crowd and walked up to me and like just said like, amazing songwriting. And I just, oh, like I'm getting butterflies thinking about it. I just was so starstruck. And
you need a warning for that kind of interaction. You can't just come up to you like that.
Just to be in the presence of such a prolific songwriter was like terrifying for me. And then he so sweetly like reached out and asked if I wanted to do a bunch of shows with him around rural New South Wales, and there's also one in Queensland as well. So that's from the 22nd of May onwards, and we're going to Dungog, Old Bar, Merimbula, Brunswick Heads, and Tugun. I hope I pronounced that right. Tugun in Queensland.
We're not going to question you.
Yeah, we're not ones to have a moral high ground when it comes to pronunciations.
Yeah, no idea. If you do plan to come to those shows, I'm going to be playing a whole bunch of unreleased stuff. So see you there.
Very exciting. I think for our Sydney, Newcastle, Central Coast listeners, Dungog and Old Bar would be your two best bets, which aren't really that far. And I believe if I've got Old Bar correctly, and Dungog actually, some really good places to, like nature, camping, go check some stuff out. So you can make a great weekend out of that. That's
Hot
just
tip.
my nod. Hot tip.
That's what you come to the Homebrewed podcast for. Hot tips.
Nice.
So we're still in the researching phase of this, but I saw that either you or the Buoys Instagram account, whoever is primarily active on there, had liked a post from an account. His name, well, he likes to be just called Joe on Instagram, but he's basically, in his words, exposing the music industry, and
Johan Peel.
that's his name. You're obviously someone who's not only first-hand experience in the industry, but you're also, from what I can see, keeping track and following what he's talking about and what he's exposing. What are your experiences with royalty payments and APRA AMCOS and everything that he's sort of looking to unpack?
First and foremost, what a legend. I like, it's just so good that he's talking about this publicly. I had a really similar kind of relationship with Izzy Manfredi when we first met. What I loved most about her was how vocal and open she was about what business dealings look like. Because we're musicians, you know, like we learn how to become expert graphic designers and animators and drawers and singers and writers. Add like legal stuff on top of that. Like, to be fair, I have learnt a lot because I just think it's really important to be able to advocate for yourself. Um, but yeah, it's really common for people to collect royalties without your knowing. And because you're not receiving the royalty reports, you just don't know that it's happening. I know quite a few artists who are experiencing that as well. So hopefully we can all coordinate together. I mean, that would be great because it's just not right.
Yeah, sorry, just to confirm what you're saying people are collecting royalty payments that aren't for them, basically. So they're collecting royalty payments for an artist, i.e., the Buoys, somebody else involved in that lineup, or in that chain of people who are involved with royalties is collecting that, and it's not making its way to the band. And this is commonplace.
Yeah, correct. And so usually it'll be an entity that is acting on behalf of the artist. And this is unfortunately quite commonplace. You know, you put your trust in someone to manage your work, and every now and then you'll come across someone who they get those royalties and they go, you know what, I'm not going to forward that to the artist. They don't need to know. I'm going to keep it to myself. And there are also situations with which Joe describes, which yeah, because the artist never signed any agreement, really the collection just shouldn't be happening at all. So yeah, that's where the issue lies. It's hectic stuff.
Yeah. We
Yeah.
were sort of diving deep into it because we also, as well as interviewing musicians, every fortnight we'll drop a podcast where we'd sort of look into a music news type story, and this was one story that we were wanting to look at. But then the more I was like, oh, let's just look up this little fact, and then it's like, okay, there's another layer to this and another layer, and it just got so deep and complicated. We were like, okay, we need to step back and actually look at this properly before we start yapping our mouths about it, because it is, a very complicated issue. And what you just talked about wasn't even anything that was uncovered in our research. So there's even more layers to what we thought there were initially.
Yeah, I actually ended up sending Joe a message just to say thanks, and I'm really keen to chat to him more because we spoke about how, change is really only going to happen if everyone who's affected works together. So really keen to chat to him and see what comes of that.
It's stories like this that need to be told and understood in terms of artists who already get a very raw deal when it comes to receiving money of any sort. This sounds like something that definitely needs to be explored, particularly within the framework of the ACCC about to extend that license. So if there's an opportunity to sort out some problems or bring them to light, then that should be done. But it's great to hear that you and the boys have kind of taken that and taken control of that side of things yourself. And I suppose if there are any artists, we do have a lot of artists that listen out there who are at the beginning of their career, what's some advice you would give them with regard to managing that side of things?
I think talk to your fellow artists. When we were, when we were shopping around for our album, for example, to figure out who we wanted to work with, it really helped us talking to other artists about their experiences. So yeah, build your community, because then you have, friends to lean on who are going through the same thing, but then you can all knowledge is wealth, right? So if you can pull that all together in one community, then you've got a good thing going. And gosh, just to add another thing to the list, I mean, if you do have time, do your best to do the research. to be able to advocate for yourself. And if you don't know, chat to other artists, message me. I've had to learn so much over the last 10 years in order to make this a sustainable career. And I'm always happy just to either give you information from myself or point you in the right direction, because it's so hard being an artist. We should all be there to support each other. So
Yeah, and on that note, buy or listen or stream Kill You Back. Buy the merch as well, the self-wearing merch. Certainly something that I would wear. No, I think that's a sort of, as you can probably tell by what I'm wearing, a very minimalist type of clothing of a similar shade. So certainly something up my alley. Just quickly on the band name, I know we've sort of touched on how you chose it, but the spelling of it is sort of quite specific. How many discussions were had around spelling it with a U, like the little buoys that float in the ocean to mark where boats live, as opposed to
where boats live,
as opposed to the Buoys like the TV show.
See, because I'm actually a boat girl. I drive boats. I love boats. So Buoys are very relevant to me. But you're gonna love this. Literally zero conversation on the spelling. We were at band practice, and my friend called me and he was like, "Hey, do you want to play a gig in 2 weeks?" And we were like, "We've literally only jammed twice. This is too." And he was like, "Okay, cool. I'm putting you on the bill. What are you called?" And so we're like, "Okay, we'll get back to you." And we deliberated. We came up with some awful names. But then eventually settled on the Buoys because we felt like we were infiltrating the boys club and it made sense. And so we call him back and we're like, "We're called the Buoys," but we never specified how it was spelled, and we just assumed that it would be Boys. So we rock up to the gig and it's on the poster as Buoys. And we were like, that's genius. So thank you, Jimmy French. That's how
so
it got to be
funny.
spelled like that. So it's a nice double entendre.
That's great. I'm just trying to think, if you told me we're called the Buoys, I would have written it how you were intending it to have been written. I don't know, outside of, deliberately thinking of the boys that are in the ocean, that I would spell it that way.
Maybe Jimmy French is a nautical man as well. And
We are all Shire rats, so that makes sense.
I had and it's just an example. This is like a really pulled out of my memory. Like when I was like in kindergarten or year one, and we were asked in class, like I was new to the whole school thing, and they were like, "Can you draw a pen?" And I drew like a chicken coop, thinking that they were asking for like a pen, not a pen, like the thing I was holding in my hand. Actually, I wouldn't have my pen license then; would have been pencil. But I remember comparing notes with whoever was next to me, and I was like, "Oh shit, I've been barking up the wrong tree." So I can understand how someone might get the wrong meaning from a word.
Well, I think like maybe he like what would you say? It's like almost like he's blowing smoke up our ass that he assumed that we were sharp enough to come up with such a cool idea, and so he just assumed that that's how it was spelled. And I'm like, that's really nice.
Yeah. No, well, that's awesome. We'll end on that note. Thank you so much for joining us, for chatting to us, for diving deep, not just in the industry but also with your own personal experiences as well, and being so open and so honest, and for just being very generous with your time. We do appreciate it. New single is either out now or out very soon as of time of listening to this. So like I said, go stream it and buy it and do all the things, support it, and keep your eyes peeled on the Buoys on social media for some extra news to come. And as we discussed, the Buoys on Instagram, Buoys. Don't follow the TV show. I mean, do, because it's a good show, but
It's pretty good.
that's not the intention of this chat. But thank you so much, Zoe. We appreciate it.